It was a quiet Saturday afternoon, the kind where the sun filters in through the windows just enough to make the whole living room feel warm and lazy. I had nowhere to be and nothing urgent to do, so I figured it was the perfect time to hang out with Max, my overly energetic golden retriever who never seemed to run out of steam. I'd just moved into this new neighborhood a couple of months ago, and it was finally starting to feel like home. Still, I hadn't met many of the neighbors, apart from the occasional nod across driveways or a wave at the mailbox. Max, though, had a way of making even the most ordinary moments a spectacle. That day, I decided to teach him a new trick, something that could tire him out a bit. I grabbed his favorite chew toy, an old squeaky banana-shaped thing he'd carried around since he was a pup, and started tossing it across the living room for him to fetch. But Max had other plans. Instead of returning it politely, he'd charge back at me, leap straight into my lap, and wrestle with me for it like we were two kids fighting over the last slice of pizza. I laughed so hard at one point, I nearly fell off the couch. Somewhere between Max pinning me down with his paws and me trying to wrestle the toy away from his slobbery mouth, I heard the front door creak open. My heart nearly stopped. I live alone, and I never leave the door unlocked. Before I could react, a tall shadow filled the entrance. My heart jumped to my throat. There, in the doorway, stood a huge man, easily over 6 feet tall, built like an NFL linebacker, dressed in a navy hoodie and dark jeans. He had skin the color of roasted coffee beans and a face that would have been intimidating if not for the look of confused horror plastered across it. We locked eyes, me frozen on the floor with Max halfway on top of me, and him just standing there, 1 foot inside the house like he'd walked into the wrong dimension. I sat up awkwardly, trying to untangle myself from Max, who was still excitedly gnawing on the toy and completely unaware of the growing tension. Can I help you?" I managed to squeak out, probably sounding like a cartoon character caught mid-prank. The guy blinked a few times, then looked around the room. This isn't apartment 2B? "Nope," I said, standing up and brushing fur off my shirt. "This is 2A. He immediately started backing out, his hands up. "Man, I am so sorry. My cousin just moved in next door." The door was open and I figured. Wait, it's cool," I said, laughing a little now. "I should have locked it. Honest mistake." Max, ever the friendly ambassador, took this as an invitation and ran up to the guy, tail wagging like a windmill. He dropped the banana toy at the man's feet. The guy smiled down at Max, then picked up the toy like it was a sacred offering. "Your dog's got some serious energy." "Oh, yeah," I said, breathing a little easier. "He doesn't know the meaning of tired." He extended a hand toward me. "Name's Marcus, by the way. Marcus Bennett." "Jason," I said, shaking his hand. "Jason Clark." He nodded. "Again, sorry for barging in like that. I just flew in from Atlanta this morning, and my cousin told me to come right over. Didn't think to double-check the number." "No worries. Honestly, you gave me a heart attack for a second." Marcus laughed. It was a deep, genuine laugh, the kind that echoed slightly and made you feel like you'd just passed a good-natured test. "Bet I did. From the look on your face, I thought you were about to sick the dog on me." "Nah, Max would probably just show you where I hide the treats." To make up for the shock, I invited Marcus in for a drink. He hesitated at first, but eventually stepped inside, still chuckling about the mix-up. We ended up sitting on the couch with Max sprawled out across both our legs like he owned the place. We talked about everything, where we were from, what we did for work, and how weird it was moving into new places. Marcus told me he worked in tech, mostly back-end development, and had taken a remote gig that let him help his cousin out during a tough time. "That's cool of you," I said. "Not everyone would fly across the country to help family." He shrugged. "That's how I was raised. You take care of your people." After a while, the conversation flowed easily, and the awkwardness of our first encounter faded into something that almost felt like friendship. By the time Marcus left to actually find apartment 2B, we were already talking about getting together for a barbecue sometime. A few days later, I ran into him and his cousin Andre while taking Max out for a walk. They were setting up a grill in the small shared courtyard behind the building. "Hey," Marcus called out. "Jason, come join us." I owe you a burger for scaring the life out of you. I laughed and gave a mock salute. Only if it comes with fries. That was the beginning of what turned out to be one of the most unexpectedly fun summers I'd had in a while. Every weekend, we'd hang out in the courtyard, toss a football around, talk about life, and swap ridiculous stories. Andre turned out to be just as cool as Marcus. Maybe even funnier. Max loved them both, always running straight to Marcus whenever he spotted him, probably hoping for a secret snack. One evening, we were all sitting around after dinner, and Andre brought up the story of Marcus walking in on me and Max during our play session. You should have seen his face, I said, half laughing, half groaning. I don't know who was more scared, him or me. Marcus leaned back in his chair, hands behind his head. Man, I thought I was walking in on some kind of weird dog yoga ritual. Andre nearly choked on his drink. Dog yoga? Seriously, Marcus said, grinning. He was on the floor, the dog was on top of him, both of them panting, and I was like, nope, I didn't see this. I'm out. We all laughed so hard, it echoed through the whole courtyard. That story became our ongoing inside joke, and it even got picked up by a local podcast after I mentioned it on a community Facebook page. They invited Marcus and me to share the story, and the episode ended up getting thousands of listens. People loved the twist and how a completely awkward moment turned into a real friendship. As summer faded into fall, Marcus and Andre became permanent fixtures in my life. We hosted game nights, watched Sunday football together, and even organized a block party for the entire apartment complex. I never would have guessed that a random mistaken entry would lead to some of the best friendships I've ever had. Sometimes, life has a funny way of throwing people into your world exactly when you need them, even if the introduction involves your dog, a squeaky toy, and a very large man who just wanted to visit his cousin. And now? Well, Max still can't get enough of Marcus, and honestly, neither can I. It's amazing what can happen when you forget to lock the door.